By the end of this video, you'll understand why finding your purpose can feel difficult as a highly sensitive person, and what begins to change when you approach it differently. In this video, you'll discover why finding your purpose can feel so confusing as a highly sensitive person, even when you're thinking about it deeply. What's actually creating that sense of fog and indecision beneath the surface, and how clarity begins to emerge when you separate what's truly yours from what you may have absorbed. Many highly sensitive people spend a lot of time thinking about purpose. They reflect, they explore, they genuinely want to move in the right direction. But instead of clarity, there's often a kind of fog. Too many options or too many directions, and nothing feels fully certain or clear. And the assumption is usually, I just haven't figured it out yet. But often there's something deeper happening. It's not just that you haven't found your purpose, it's that you may be trying to find it while holding things that actually aren't yours. You may recognize this. You sit down and think about your future, what you want to do, what direction you want to move in, and a few ideas come up. Something practical, something meaningful, something that makes sense. But as you sit with them, each one starts to feel complicated. This one feels responsible, but kind of heavy. Or this one feels exciting, but maybe a little unrealistic. And this one feels right, but it's unclear how to move forward with it. So you stay there and you go back and forth and you try to feel your way into it, trying to find the one that feels completely right, one that just yeses all the way down. But nothing quite lands. And after a while, you may actually stop because it feels too hard to figure it out. When this continues, it can start to affect more than just your direction. You can start hesitating to move forward, and you can start second-guessing your decisions. And you may feel like you're behind or that you're missing something. And over time, this can turn into frustration and self-doubt and a quiet sense of being stuck. When purpose feels unclear, HSPs often respond in ways that sometimes make it even harder. For example, you may find yourself trying to think your way to clarity. And by this, I mean analyzing every option, looking at all the different details, and then hoping that certainty will appear. We as HSPs are really good at analysis, and so going into the details seems like it could be helpful. But what often happens there is that you have now even more details and more choices and more things to weigh, and the complexity has just increased instead of clarity. Another thing that we can often do as HSPs when we're trying to figure out purpose is we tend to look outside for answers. So we look for who can advise us and what are people thinking or expecting even, and we may even look to what other people are doing and try to figure it out by copying what they're doing or getting inspiration from what they're doing. And while this can be helpful in some regards, it sometimes also adds more noise to an already complex situation on the inside. And so we end up getting confused or kind of grinding to a halt because there's just too many conflicting ideas out there, and I'm just not sure which one is the right one. Another thing that can happen when you're trying to figure out what is your purpose, and when I say purpose, it could be big purpose or it could be small purpose, just direction, in different situations. When we're looking for some kind of direction like this, we can sometimes get stuck on wanting it to be or waiting for a full body yes. You know that when you're like, oh, yes, that's it. I want to do that for sure. And there's like no doubts, just 100% yes. And while that's wonderful, it doesn't always work that way. And so you can end up waiting for a very long time for something to be just this complete yes. And so it can actually delay taking any action, which can end up getting you stuck in just kind of a holding pattern instead of moving forward in any clear direction. And then one other thing that we tend to do when we're trying to figure out our direction is we sometimes will assume that the confusion that we're feeling means that we're lost or that there's just no way forward. And often that is not necessarily the case, surprisingly enough. It often means, this feeling of confusion often means that there's just too much mixed together. Here's an interesting idea. Purpose often doesn't feel hard because it's far away. It feels hard because it's layered. As a highly sensitive person, you don't just feel your own desires, you feel what matters to others as well. You sense other people's expectations. You pick up on what seems right and what feels responsible and what would be meaningful. And over time, those layers can blend together. They can overlap. They can make this confusing kind of situation where there's so many factors that you're trying to separate and figure out that it becomes very difficult to find a clear direction. So when you try to listen inward, it's not one clear signal, it's many different signals all at once. And that's what can create the experience of fog or confusion. Not necessarily a lack of direction, but a lack of separation. It's like trying to hear one instrument in a room full of sound. If you're playing an instrument, it's there. It's playing. But there's so many other sounds around it that it becomes hard to tell which one is yours. So instead of clarity, you hear everything all at once. And then everything starts to feel uncertain. Is that mine? Is that what is mine? What is theirs? It just becomes confusing. This isn't about finding the perfect direction so that you never have to think about it again. That's idealistic. It is about separating what is yours from what isn't yours. And that can give a lot of clarity. So to begin asking, is this something I actually want? Or is it something that I've absorbed from others? Would this still matter to me if no one saw it? What feels quietly true to me, even if it doesn't stand out or won't be noticed by others? As this kind of teasing apart begins, clarity doesn't necessarily need to be forced anymore. It starts to emerge naturally. You start seeing what is yours and what is not yours, and clarity can begin to emerge. Because this is something many highly sensitive people experience, I created a simple reflection to help with exactly this. It's called the Purpose Clarity Filter, and it's a short PDF guided process to help you separate what's truly yours from what you may have picked up from others. So instead of trying to figure out your purpose all at once, you can start clearing away what isn't yours, at least. and then reconnect with what feels quietly true for you. So if purpose has been feeling confusing for you, if you've been thinking about it and circling it, but you're not quite landing anywhere, and you're ready for a clearer, simpler way to move forward, this is exactly why I created the Purpose Clarity Filter. It's a quick reflection to help you cut through the noise and come back to what's actually yours. Just go to the video description and click on the first link, or visit trueinnerfreedom.com/purpose-clarity-filter. Enter your details and I'll send it right over.